Hey, what's going on, y'all? We got another episode again, Pondering Poet series. All right. Of course, you know me, Frank Ellypsis. So in this episode, um, I wanted to go over, a few things in the scope of, what's happening in the world right now as far as the pandemic. I would like to call this episode "Productivity During COVID-19." Time is a gift. Productivity during COVID-19, time is a gift. Where, if you really think about it, when it comes down to the concept of time, that's one of the things that oftentimes we actually waste and we don't use effectively. And um, especially right now with all that is happening in the world, in reference to race relations, in reference to the pandemic, in reference to people being able to be as healthy as possible, in reference to people losing their jobs, in reference to various things that are going on, where you have to have focus in on certain goals, especially right now when there are a lot of things that are happening that potentially could snuff your life out quickly, or put you in a situation where you end up going through something traumatic and you may not know readily how to bounce back from it. Where this, I believe, is a time to be able to do the necessary things so you can build yourself up or build your foundation up when it comes down to potentially having a family, when it comes down to actually having a family, various things that you need to do to be able to achieve certain goals and reach, to the next level that you would like to be able to reach. Where there are various things that pop up in my mind in the scope of treating time as a gift. One of the things that I often tell other people is time is currency. Time, as a matter of fact, is the most important currency. The most important currency. Where if you think about money, money is utilized to be able to invest in assets to be able to make more money. Also, money can just be used as something that you end up just wasting on things that you don't necessarily need. But I like the idea of being able to invest in certain things where you want to use that currency effectively and use it to your best of ability to be able to reap the benefits off of it over a course of time, you know? So here are a few things that I've kind of thought about in the scope of me being able to utilize my time effectively. Um, One of the things that I've just recently done, and I didn't even know or had a mindset at first of actually doing this and believing that I'll be able to achieve this within the amount of time that I actually achieved it. One of the things that I just recently did was I just finished my master's degree in education, you know, and for me, especially coming from my background, coming from the family that I came from, and higher education wasn't really emphasized. More so, especially within the American context, more so, being able to graduate high school and then be able to work, and get some money, work for somebody, be able to have a job. That was more so the foundation or the baseline, within the family that I grew up in. But I've always, wanted to, go further, when it comes down to education. But in addition to that, I had to better understand, how I needed to use education as an investment for things I wanted to do, for the future. I've always seen myself as, but at one time, I didn't really see myself, come to think about it, when it comes down to the scope of my education, at one time I completely hated education. I completely hated it, and eventually I grew a love for it once I further understood what education was compared to indoctrination, you know? And I definitely understand that now in the scope of, one particular thing that I'll let y'all know later on, based on the episode that I'll do later on it. But throwing that little nugget out there, I guess. But uh, in the scope of my education, I grew to see it as an investment in me being able to be as educated as I possibly can. Now, in the scope of education, you have formal education, but then you also have, which is something I've talked about before or I've mentioned before. You also have autodidacticism, which is the belief in self-learning. You have to have a balance of both. For me, I've always wanted to push myself further in education, which means now with having that mindset and reaching that goal and then having support, having a support system in reaching that goal, which is also important in the scope of collectivism. I now have my master's degree in education, but I also have intentions on going for my doctorate or PhD, depending on what particular program I would want to delve into. And I also, in my mind, I have further intentions on getting a second master's degree, more specifically in applied computer science. Getting a second master's degree prior to actually going for my doctorate, where that has taken a great a great amount of my time to be able to actually work for that degree. I ended up getting my bachelor's, and then right after that I went straight into my master's, and I got my master's within 10 months. you know who ends up doing that? you know a lot of people can. It's really about what investment that you put in when it comes down to the amount of time that you have. Proper time management, being able to understand the goals that you want to achieve and reach for them. Another thing that I use with my time, you see me doing it now. I created a vlog. you know I I feel like I have a lot of knowledge that I can convey to a lot of people, and I made the decision to create this platform as a means for helping others, in addition to a means to connect to others in the scope of different topics that I talk about. you know I think it's a great thing for me to have a mindset of wanting to one, create certain platforms in the scope of being able to give back to anyone, no matter what background they come from, so on and so forth. In my mindset, I'm more so about the scope of progression, about leading people in the best direction that they know they need to go in, so they can be better, they can grow, they can be intellectually sound, they can do anything and everything within their life to be able to have a great base of what their life is about, have a great foundation. So for me, creating this vlog, not only is it to help others, but it's also to help myself, because this, honestly, I'll be real about it. During this time, during COVID, this has helped me to really, it has helped me in the scope of being a form of therapy. you know Me being able to convey my thoughts intelligently, and with a certain focus, has helped me to further my endeavors in the scope of the things that I know I need to learn, and the things that I know I need to obtain and gain and achieve. you know when I use this platform to reiterate certain things that I believe should be put out there to be talked about, it helps me to reiterate the things that I already know within myself, to be able to go further in the scope of self progression, and in the scope of collective, a collective foundation. When it comes down to people, when it comes down to me getting to know others, when it comes down to me also being better there for black people as a whole, but also there for others too, but obviously black first. um but yeah, like, that's one other thing. Another thing that is in my mind when it comes down to productivity during COVID is I write. I consistently write, where I'm writing anywhere from like 2 to 3 poems a day. uh in addition to that, pushing myself to prepare these poems to be performed, because I'm not just a writer, I'm also a performer. you know I, meshed the two together. I've, been performing, since a very young age, singing in front of, church congregations, so on and so forth, as a kid. And then now all of a sudden, I've gotten into poetry and I think I'm doing pretty well at it. I am now, on the brink of pushing to, record myself performing certain poems. Just a couple of months ago, I ended up getting one of those gimbals, camera gimbals, where it moves when you move, so on and so forth, to be able to elevate my uh, recording game, if I could say that, in the scope of being able to put that content out there, and that also will help me in the foundation of me writing my books, where I can have that content to show what I'm able to offer in the scope of, my writing skills, but also, give people kind of a taste of what I'm about, which also helps me in the scope of, getting my books out there and people wanting to delve into my content, you know, where now if I can say this, I'm, doing, many different things to become a great influencer. Even though to some degree I don't necessarily like that term, influencer, because I believe right now in the scope of many influencers out there, there's a lot of negative content that I believe is out there in the scope of being influencers, and I do believe that negative content doesn't help people to grow, to foundationally be better in life. You know what I'm saying? But you also have many influencers out there who are, promoting great content, and shout out to, all of those influencers out there, giving them their flowers on, them putting great content out there. But there must be some type of foundation for, that realistic content, that content that, helps others. And this is one of the things I'm doing to, be able to occupy uh, my currency, occupy my time, I like to say. Another thing, um, in the scope of productivity, being able to, use your time wisely, use this gift effectively. There are many things that any of y'all can do, that is separated or, is aside from, doing things that are self-destructive. I think the biggest thing for me is not doing things that are self-destructive, because I know there are people rooting for me who are in my corner that want me to do well, want me to succeed, want me to get to the highest level, want me to get beyond the highest level and get to another level that most people, wouldn't even be able to conceive. Like, there's so much that you could do in this world. Um, like, you have so many different genres, so many different things that you can get into. It's ridiculous. But I believe sometimes there are a lot of things that, puts people on the path of not being as focused as they should be in the scope of doing something with their life, you know? And I think this time in history, during COVID-19, during coronavirus, should want to push you. You should have a need to push yourself to be able to do something better than what you have done before. Do something that, can change lives, or just even start in the aspect of changing your own life. And then maybe you can grow to, you know, the mindset of wanting to change others' lives in a positive and realistic way. You know, it really all depends on the foundation that you are now trying to grow in the scope of being better, every single day. Um, I do a lot of reading, do a lot of reading, you know. I feel like it would be unjust for me to, have a platform like this and just convey things from a standpoint that, is not from the foundation of intellectualism. I believe in intellectualism very, very strongly. I believe in using the mind. I believe in pushing the mind. You have to understand there's a certain level of mental anguish that you have to go through to be able to push your mind and push your body to the next level. I'm gonna go over, body stuff, in another episode. But um during this time, Another thing, when the last time you called family? You know, when the last time you've given some of your currency to, people that care about you, that, support you, that want to be there for you, and you wanting to be there for them. When have you done something that, is a prominent factor in being able to use the time that you have to be able to create, be able to think, be able to, apply, these things that are good to do so? When have you done that during this period in time? You know, and I'll be real about it. If you have fear, in doing these things, I would think it would be more of a thought in your mind to think that there should be more fear in not doing something than doing something, you know? Because if you're not doing something, you're staying stagnant. You've plateaued, you know? Even if you were doing something before and you stopped, you've plateaued. But now you need to understand that plateau needs to, go ahead and start steadily growing into a mountain where you're steadily, trekking on the mountain and, being able to, reach the highest peak, but then understand, oh, randomly out of nowhere, when it comes down to the sky, some stairs just popped up and now I need to go up these stairs. You know what I'm saying? And that's just a metaphor for your own creativity of what goals that you can achieve, within this lifetime, and push yourself to do so. So, yeah, that's, one of the things that I wanted to share in this episode when it comes down to productivity during, the pandemic and everything. And do something, not only to help yourself to, be better, health wise, be better, the scope of, being able to do something, but, help others. Once you're able to help yourself, you can help others better. But also, if you do first help others, maybe that can, be a platform for you inevitably helping yourself too. So it can go either way. With that said, I'm Frank Ellypsis, and here's another episode for you, for a Pondering Poet series. Y'all take it easy.